Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm gonna be breaking down how to build or create anything step by step so you can start your dream business, your dream life, your dream job, and make sure to stay for the entire video so you can process all of this information so you do not miss a step. And if you love this channel, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment below. All right, so building from scratch. What is the most difficult thing about starting anything from scratch with no resources, no connections, or even no knowledge about the industry? There's 3 items that are missing. And a lot of times, if you look at what you want to accomplish now or your current business, you may have 2 of them, but you're missing 1. You may have 1, but you're missing 2, or you may be missing all 3. Whatever it is, I'm going to teach you how to acquire all 3 and assess them and then implement them so you can actually start accomplishing what you want. Okay, so for anyone that is not currently doing something that they want to do, they're missing these 3 items. Number 1, information. Okay, if you knew the right information, you would know what to do, right? This could be resources in the industry. This could be how to hire someone, how to lead people, sales, specific knowledge or skill sets about the product or service or industry. It's something, and we have to identify what those things are so we can learn it as efficiently as possible. Number 2 is resources. This is a common one. We might know all the right information. We may know the industry, we may know how to sell, we may know everything that you need to know. But if you don't have money, if you don't have people to work with you, you don't have the right resources, and think about if you're in construction, you may not have the equipment, you may not have the location, you may not have the deals, you may not have the subcontractors, you may not have the managers, you may not have the lines of credit. There's so many different things that you need. So you can have all of this great information, but information isn't power. It's potential power. You can use it. Think of a professor that knows all these different subjects but doesn't make a lot of money. We want to make sure that we learn the information, we then acquire the resources, which I'm going to teach you how to do even if you don't have any money right now. And then lastly, if you have the right information, you got all the resources, but your processes are horrible, they're not consistent, and they're not streamlined, you're going to have all this potential power that's going to go right to the dumpster, okay? We do not want to go right into the dumpster, and we don't want to go out of business and not be successful, okay? So let's talk about how to acquire these 3, all right? Now, I'm going to be breaking you guys down how I figured out how to start and build and successfully scale my first company. And I'm going to keep this relatively general because I want you to be able to use it as a blueprint for how you can assess for this dream job or dream life or dream business that you currently have so you can build it, okay? So number 1, information, all right? I wanted to start a company. The biggest question I get from entrepreneurs and people who want to become entrepreneurs is, Grant, like, I know I'm an entrepreneur. I know I want to build a business, but how do you know what type of business? Okay, a couple different things that you can do here is that to do something you've never done, you need new information. So I kind of take it as a trial. It's like, 1, don't judge yourself, but 2, we're going to find a way to absorb as much new information as possible, because if you had the right info, you wouldn't be asking me or anybody else what business to start. You would already have the information needed to make the decision. So we want to go seek that new information. Okay, where's a great place to start? Books. One thing I've been doing is listening to audiobooks on 1.5 speed, sometimes even 2x speed, now that I'm getting used to it. Okay, so for example, like this year, you may be watching this video 20 years from today's recording, but regardless is like this, I'm in February, it's like mid-February right now, I've already read 8 books. That's almost as much as, well, right about what I read last year, okay? So I'm making more progress, so I'm absorbing more information quicker. Next is the news. Listening to the right news, CNBC, anything finance related, business related, absorb the information objectively. YouTube, X is a great thing, YouTube is a great thing, any social media. You want to absorb and study what are the smartest people on earth doing, what are they talking about, what problems are they continually solving. And you take this objectively. You don't do it like, you don't want to be the guy that's screaming in front of the TV. We're not doing that. We want to absorb all of this new information so we can have more data to calculate new problems and solve a new deal, okay? So we talked about YouTube. Next is people in the industry and friends. This was what I did when I was starting my first company, is I identified the industry I wanted to be in, but I had so much questions, I had no idea how to set up. I didn't know about pricing. I didn't know about installation. I didn't know about financing. I didn't know how to manage cash flow. So what I started doing, I was talking to a business owner yesterday, and I said, look, we don't have enough information. Go set 10 meetings. Go set 10 meetings with other contractors in your industry. And they texted me literally this morning and said, oh, Grant, you're right. If I did everything I did last year, I'll 5x my income and make over $1 million a year. I cannot believe this. And obviously he has 7, 8 more meetings to have. But what I told him is, look, you know your industry more than anyone. You're in it and you're successful at it. You need more information. So I don't need to decide, you don't need to decide. Let's go seek the market, find out the right information, get that information, and typically the choice will be obvious. Okay, so what I did early on, I was trying to figure out all these things. I started a solar business back in 2020, and we've done 50 plus million in sales since then. I went up and set an install with literally 10 installers, people in industries, and I'll talk to them for 15 minutes, 20 minutes. I messed up on like 3 of those calls. I ruined like 3 of those calls because I said the wrong things. I was professional, but I just didn't know. I got less of a deal than I should have, right? So talk to more people. We talked about this, setting meetings, right? This also can be people who are in the industry currently, even if they're working at another company or you have a friends. And then last, the most important, which correlates with all of these items, is action, okay? Like imagine you and I, they put us in a room, they said, okay guys, we will give you $1 million if you can solve this 1,000-piece puzzle in 3 hours. And instead of you and I putting each piece together, we just guessed it and we sat there and strategized for an hour straight on what we think it could be. And as long as we got it right, it would work. How dumb would that be? Why do we do the same thing in our life? When you start taking action, I don't know what it is, but energy just starts flowing. People start coming out of nowhere. Opportunities come together and things start to develop naturally. Okay, progress gives you answers when you're running a business. And a lot of times what happens is we're solving a problem. Let's say, we're going to talk about a lot of resources. We don't want to solve the resource problem before we have the information problem. We don't want to start building processes when we don't even have the capital ready to go. So you want to do this in an orderly process because more and more results and information will reveal itself, okay? So this is how I figured out the resources, okay? Started here, the information. Second is resources, okay? These were a few of the many resources that I needed for my company that I didn't have when I was starting it. Okay, well, about a year before, and then right before I did have a few of these things. Hey guys, if you're an entrepreneur, business person, or you just want to grow as an individual, I just started a private business community that has over 200 different entrepreneurs from a multitude of different industries. We have weekly live calls with Q&As. We have over 20 different master classes that break down sales, marketing, finance, operations, branding, social media, you name it, as well as guest speakers and the ability to network and grow your career. If you want to have a massive, massive year, this is every single little thing that I've learned over building an 8-figure business, building a massive following on social media, and working with entrepreneurs all over the world. If you guys would like to join, I want to give it to you for free for 7 days just for listening to this podcast. Click the link below and get set up. Look forward to seeing you guys there. Okay, so number 1, installers. Solar business, I need someone to install it. Where am I going to find that? I asked that in first principles. I Googled, figured out every install I can. I sent out hundreds and hundreds of emails, LinkedIn messages, calling companies, like anything you can imagine. I ended up setting about 10 meetings, which is all I really needed. I jumped on Zoom, I jumped on the phone, and I was figuring out pricing, what the market was doing, what their processes were doing, what things, what areas did they install in, where were we trying to be. All these different things gave me super important answers. And I can tell you by the 3rd or 4th call, I was 100 times more knowledgeable than where I was previously because I took action, okay? Second thing we needed financing, not necessarily for the business, we needed that also, but we needed financing for each one of our solar projects. The average deal, I made a previous video, I'll put the link in the description below, on how to scale it to $1 million in revenue in 6 months. And we needed financing for each deal because the average ticket price for the customer was $36,500 initially. Now it's a little bit lower. So because that, they're not gonna always pay cash. So I had to figure out, how do I find a solar finance company or other company that can finance all these projects so we can sell deals at a scale. So I went up, set up 5, 6, 7 meetings, figured out how to get all the licensing and all the required things so we can get financing for our customers. Okay, next, how much capital do I need to start it? Okay, I figured out a specific number. I ended up saving over 100 grand, which I ended up not needing, but you have to know how much capital do you need. Do you need to raise it? Do you need to partner with someone? Where do you get the money? Okay, 4, which I figured out accidentally, which I talked about, I believe on the video I'm talking about earlier, and just in general throughout my YouTube, I talk about this in detail, is I walked into JP Morgan Chase to set up business bank accounts. I was dressed to the nine, and they said, hey, do you want like, a line of credit card, anything like that? And I was like, oh, well, tell me about it. They start telling me about it. I told them what the expected revenue is. We hadn't done a dime in revenue yet, but because I had good credit and we had high projected revenue, I get a $50,000 credit limit that I was able to use that was instrumental in helping us scale because I didn't have to use my own capital unless it was for setup costs and things like that. So I was able, because I knew my CAC to LTV ratio, which is important. I'm not telling you guys go get a credit card and spend all your money to hope a business works. I knew the process so well that I knew systematically what I was going to do. But it's still my point that this gives you excess buying power and allows you to scale quicker. Okay, but I knew I needed it because lead cost is our biggest upfront capital, and it takes about 60 to 90 days to install and get funded. So I need to front that capital, and then we get the remaining off profit on the back end. Okay, next is sales reps. Okay, I needed sales reps. Obviously, I can just sell, but I don't want to be a one-man shop. If I have 10 sales reps, I'm probably going to beat the guy that has 1 or 2. So I have to go find these sales reps. Where do I find them? How do I set up an Indeed account? How do I set up a LinkedIn? How do I set up a ZipRecruiter? What is the recruiting process in? Like, what do I say? How do we set the appointment? How many interviews do we have? What questions do we ask? How the heck do we do all of the technical things? The W-9s, the 1099s, all these things, W-4s, like how do we do all these different things? How do we file an LLC? All these different things. This is what you have to figure out before, and this is kind of what I'm walking you through here right now, is I had all this set up so I could go seek and find these sales reps. Last was I needed leads. Okay, if you have a great product, you got a great sales process, but you don't have anybody that wants to buy them, you're in a tough situation. First thing I did is like, how do I run ads? And I was like, okay, who can run them for me? Who also sells leads and does lead generation in that specific industry? And I was able to find a great company that I ended up spending millions and millions of dollars with, and it helped us scale to 8 figures. Okay, so I found it, the process was great, and literally after meeting them for 30 minutes, I was like, this is an instantaneous deal, we're doing it. I loved it, and it helped us scale quite a bit. Okay, so remember, we got the information. I know how to structure the business, okay? I know how to onboard people. I know how to build the process of scripts. I know the industry. I know how to run a business. I know how to lead. I've learned all of these things, okay? But if you know all this, but you don't have resources, you're screwed, right? Then I acquired this. 2 years before, what was I doing? I was saving money, okay? I set up the financing for the business. I set up multiple installers. I acquired a line of credit. I started hiring, right off the bat, I think I had 4 to 5 sales reps, give or take. I set up lead generation in our processes to do so. Now, if we have all these great things, and I'm just like, all right, guys, let's see what happens. Just say whatever you want. Well, we probably wouldn't do too good. We wouldn't stay in business. Okay, so we got to get to the third part, process. All right, so obviously the processes now are a lot more intricate and detailed, but this is the generalities of what I needed starting off. And I think it's important that when you're building any business or you're going after any goal, even if it's, you want to work in a specific industry, your process on doing this, I told this to a family member of mine that wants to get in a new industry, increase their income. I was like, you need to have a set process for how many jobs you apply for every single day. And you send it here, you have ChatGPT do this, you do this, you do this, you do this. And he's doing it, and now he's applied to hundreds and hundreds, and he has a lot of interviews set up. Okay? So what do I need to do? Number one, I gotta know how to onboard people. I gotta have the right contracts in place. I gotta have the right expectations in place. I gotta hire in the right locations. They gotta be happy. I can't onboard them, and then they're like, man, this company sucks. I gotta have a good look. 2 is scripts. Okay, luckily this was my one of my really good skill sets because I learned sales really early on and I learned how to write sales scripts. I built out a playbook of what to say when you're setting the appointment, what to say that when you're in the appointment, what to say when you're closing, what to say if they tell you no, what to say if they cancel, everything written beautifully. So when someone's starting day one, I'm like, okay, we got to memorize and use this script. And if you do it the right way, you will make money and you will close deals. Okay. 3rd, I can have scripts, I can have onboarding, but if I don't know how to train them, you're not going to do too good either, right? So I needed a training program. So we started off like every day, 9 to 10 a.m. And then 10 a.m. we would start calling. I would be on training program and I'd be running training until I ended up having, managers running that for me. Then I had to build a boot camp to where actual managers would train them separately from the current sales staff that was actively selling. So then they could practice and train and make sure they're recording. And if they don't pass, they're terminated and only the best ones make it, right? Next is obvious, the day-to-day. Where are my people going to be? What are they going to do? And then 5, KPIs, how are we going to measure it or yourself? Okay, whether you want to lose weight, whether you want to make more money, start a business, do whatever you want to do, you need to be able to measure, okay? You cannot grow or improve what you do not measure. Okay, there's a reason why there's so much analytics in the best companies in sports, in soccer, in football, in baseball. It is an analytic, data-driven business because analytics and data gives you the peace of mind and the information to not have to guess. You know. And this was something I did decent, but not too good the first 6 months. And as soon as I implemented it, it literally doubled our revenue without me improving anything because I finally knew the data behind where we were at, what we were spending, what was our CAC, what was our LTV, what is our sales reps numbers, all that kind of stuff, okay? So you have to measure. If you have salespeople, this is a whole separate training on managing salespeople because it's a very interesting thing to do. But we know how many appointments they're setting, how many people they're calling, how many people are showing up, how many they're closing, what's the keep rate, what's the net conversions. We know all of it. So I can pull it up, look at the data, and instantly know this guy needs to be on a PIP, this guy's fantastic, this guy's doing this, and we can hold them accountable. And there's certain metrics that we have set up. Like for example, early on, one of our rules when we're starting off is you need to either call 200 people or set a minimum of 2 appointments. So if you call 6 people and you set 2 appointments, you're done calling for the day. And people are like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And so they would try to do it as efficient as possible, okay? Process, what's our install process and what's our project management? Okay, at first it was me, and then luckily I was able to hire for that, and that helped quite a bit. It helped us grow. But what is our day-to-day process? How do our project management team, how do they deal with sales reps? How do they deal with escalations? We have something called red lines when engineering does not get approved by the permit of the city. Okay, what happens when things get delayed? How do we get these damn things turned on? What happens if problems happen at the installation? What happens if we need insurance? What happens if a customer is mad? All these different things, right? I have to figure out a process and systems for all of it because if I'm the only one that understands it and no one else in the organization knows, we're screwed. So this needs to be so simple and scalable that everyone knows where to go. And then lastly, this is simple, and there's a lot of these I can add, but I want to kind of give you a base template. What are the commissions we're paying people? What are the salaries we're paying people? And how the hell do we do payroll? How do we pay these damn people? This is super important, right? So we have to figure out how to do all of these things before starting the business. Because remember, if you got a bunch of money, some of you guys listening have been super successful in a lot of things, and you got money, multi-millionaire, maybe a billionaire, but you're like, I don't know anything about this industry. You got to figure out who does, leverage people. Where do you find the information? Okay, if you have all the money in the world, you got all the information, but you don't have systems and an operator to scale it, or you yourself, you're gonna have a rough time. If you're amazing with process, you got all the information in the world, but you don't know how to acquire resources, you're also in a bad situation. So the key rule is you have to acquire all 3 of these, and you have to do it step by step. 1, 2, 3, right? And do not solve a problem that doesn't exist until it is right in front of you. Okay, let your problems wait their turn. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you liked it, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment below and put on the notifications so you're notified anytime there's a new video. As always, I hope you guys have an incredible week. I'm always rooting for you, and we'll see you guys again soon. Thank you guys.